Welcome back, everybody. This is an interesting topic today. Something I never would have expected to be making a video on. Rams bringing back the Hemi. Say what? That is right, folks. Well, specifically the 5.7 Hemi will be returning to the half-ton trucks. Now, that is very surprising to me in the sense that it was discontinued, and usually when automakers discontinue something, you know, they don't bring it back, whatever it is, right? Whether it's an engine option, a transmission option, a body style configuration, or if they do bring it back, it's many, many years from, when they originally discontinued it, not like 2 months or a year after they discontinued it, whatever. And I don't know exactly why that is, but Ram sales are down, but so are everybody's sales. I think Rams have taken a little bit more of a hit than other companies. But the Hurricane itself, seems to be getting reasonable enough response. Toyota went the same route with their turbo 6-cylinder. Seems to be getting reasonably good response, other than its kind of recall type issues. But I don't think that the Hurricane release was catastrophically bad by any stretch of the imagination. Either neutral or slightly good, kind of to the general market. But needless to say, they're bringing the Hemi back. Now, the claims are that it's going to be in the lower trim model trucks, kind of like as a mid-tier engine option. So you'd have your kind of NA, I believe they still have an NA V6, I would assume they do. And then you have your Hemi, and then you have your turbo, Hurricane 6-cylinder. And the Hurricane, of course, has different power levels. So you got starting to get quite a few engine options from Ram. Ford has kind of done this model with the 5-liter Coyote. The 5 liter is essentially one of their kind of middle engines. Slotted between like the 2.7 EcoBoost and the 3.5 EcoBoost. And then, of course, you still have your kind of work truck base V6 that they have. Actually, no, Ford doesn't, I don't think, have that anymore. Anyway, regardless, they have a few different engine options as well. And I actually think that it's a terrible idea. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, that is not what I expected him to say as an owner of 3 6+ liter V8s and formerly a 5.3 liter V8. But here's why I say that. So the market, undoubtedly, for better or worse, is moving toward turbocharged 6-cylinders and 4-cylinders, and just, engine displacement reduction and engine, but still keeping the power, right? By adding turbos. And while I think that that's, in some respects, that's a good thing, because, you can generally get better fuel economy and really, frankly, better performance, more low-end torque. There's a lot of benefits to a turboed medium-sized engine, let's call it, or small engine. Then there's the negatives. EcoBoosts have had timing chain issues and phaser issues, and everything is under a little more stress, and whether or not it's really going to last the amount of mileage an NA V8 would is always a good question. It just kind of depends on a lot of factors, but most enthusiasts are kind of V8 or die. Obviously, I am a little bit that way as well, considering I own 3 V8s. But I also try to keep the kind of open-mindedness of saying, all right, but is the V8 for your average person really the best option? And I will say, as technology goes on and people start to care more and more about fuel economy and really are daily driving half-ton trucks more so than they're working them, it probably isn't the best option for a lot of people. Some type of NA V6 if you don't care about the power, or turbo V6 if you do care about the power, is probably a better option, because you can get better fuel economy, get really good performance in both those segments, and avoid some of the kind of complexities and disadvantages of a V8, because there are some, like active fuel management type, fuel cylinder or cylinder deactivation type stuff, and just the worst fuel economy of it being a bigger motor. Now, that being said, especially Chevy has seemed to have gotten really competitive fuel economy with their V8s, despite them being now much more ancient technology compared to the 2 or 3 generation in turbo 6 cylinders that various companies are making, including Chevy themselves. But there's definitely something to be said for that simplicity. So I'm obviously not anti-V8, but I don't know. I don't know if it's a good decision. Like, I don't know that... Okay, so anytime you add manufacturing complexity, in this case via having more product SKUs because you have multiple engine options, you just got more manufacturing cost in general because you have to compensate for that. Having another facility to make that entirely new engine line, and then that 5.7 is only going to be in trucks now. It looks like it's not going to come back to the cars anyway. So lower volumes, lower volume production could add cost. So there's a lot of factors, right? And with that, with all those factors, it might just wind up making what's supposed to be a cheaper truck similar cost for Ram to produce. And hey, if it gets some more sales, then that's fine, that's great. But it probably won't, because as much as people claim they want V8s, I would be one of those people. Ford has kind of proven with how many sales their 3.5 EcoBoost generates that people don't care as much as they think they do, because they sell a vast majority of trucks with a 3.5 EcoBoost or 2.7 EcoBoost. The Coyote's a niche enthusiast engine. And as much as us enthusiasts don't want to see them go, that doesn't really sell you volume, right? You're talking, 3, 4, 5, 600,000 units a year being sold, if not more. Whatever the volume engines are what you care to make. There's some amount of people who just won't buy it because it doesn't have a V8, but then most of those people will just slot into a different engine option of your brand. I don't think it makes a huge difference. So I think Ram is appeasing to the enthusiasts, which, personally I'm all for, but from a business decision, I don't know that makes the most amount of sense, because, again, the enthusiast market is not necessarily driving a lot of their profitability. And they're a company that's hurting right now. That's why I'm harping on this. They actually need to become more profitable quickly. Like, they're actually having some serious problems. So I don't think they can afford to make costly enthusiast-based decisions. They need to make smart financial decisions for the mass market. And hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will help the mass market. I'm happy to see it, for sure. I like seeing more V8s in the world, for obvious reasons, because they sound cool and work well and are generally pretty reliable and blah, blah, blah. They're American. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think it was cool, though, that it's coming back. I think it does also show, and this is kind of contradictory to what I was saying before, it does show a little bit of a counterculture. EV sales have slowed and softened. We've got Ram bringing the V8 back. Chevy's still holding strong. Their flagship engines are V8s. Ford still has a V8 despite having had the EcoBoost for well over 10 years now. It does kind of show that people don't seem to be wanting to give up the V8 anytime soon. The market doesn't want to be giving up the V8 anytime soon. Additionally, 3/4 ton trucks, obviously a very different segment, very work-based, and you just need the tool that does the job. But they could have made a turbo 6-cylinder, maybe a 5-liter, big 5-liter 6-cylinder, or even just a 5-liter V8 turboed or something like that for that segment. But instead, Ford, for example, decided to go 7.3-liter NA V8. So there would have been opportunities to also kind of take those lines of trucks and turn them into something different. And they chose not to. And I can't imagine they chose not to because they, thought they'd make less money doing so and would make customers less happy. Their goal at the end of the day is to make their customers as happy as possible while making a profit. I think they focus sometimes maybe a little too much on the making a profit part, but within reason, they're trying to do both. And clearly the V8 is making customers happy to a degree. So we'll see how much longer they stick around for. Obviously, politically speaking, whenever a new president comes in, there's always the question of if regulations will be softened or tightened depending on their beliefs. And obviously the prevailing belief would be that a Trump administration would potentially loosen or at least keep regulations the same on emissions, whereas a Biden administration or equivalent would potentially make the regulations more strict. So in that case, it is more likely for an automaker to bring back a less fuel efficient engine under, say, Trump than it would under Biden potentially. So that's always a factor factor that I do think that companies think about. And if nothing else, right, they already have this V8 engine design. They could make it for another 4 years while Trump is president and call it a day after that, right? That's a 4 years is a long time in the life cycle of, or the refreshment cycle of cars these days. So there's a lot of different ways they could go about it, just depending on what they think the longevity of different rules and regulations will be. What else we got here? I also think that people, so Ford especially started off back in the 2010 or whatever they came out with the EcoBoost. They had a really uphill battle of convincing people that V6s, turbo V6s could be as reliable as V8s and would be a true substitute. And I think that even though Ford's the pioneer of kind of starting that trend in pickups, I don't think people are fully convinced. I think all these cam phaser issues they've had have really sullied the EcoBoost's name to what I'll call like the middle market. Right? Guys who are leasing a truck for 36,000 miles, they don't care. I'm talking about the guys who are keeping them from 60 to 120,000 miles, kind of the meat of your market, because they're encountering phaser issues and that low of mileage. The market's never really going to care about the people keeping their truck 200,000+ miles. It's just they're not enough of the market. They're not enough of the new car market to affect the new car market. They're usually the second or third owner. But nowadays, the cost of vehicles, a lot of people do keep them from 80 to 120,000, whereas back in the day, a lot of wealthier people might have just traded out every 30 to 50,000 miles. So now that kind of middle mileage market is becoming is still the first time buyer, in which case at dealership lot, people are thinking more about reliability potentially than they ever were before. So I think that's partly why you're seeing these trends. People are saying to themselves, wow, I'm investing a pile of money into this thing. I want to go with the more reserved, safe solution, or at least what they perceive as the safe solution, as opposed to the risky but maybe more powerful turbo 6-cylinder solution. So I'm curious to see if that actually holds up to be true. As the car market in general softens and we start seeing more rebates and discounts, will that continue to hold true for the next year, 2, 3, 4 years? I don't know. We will see. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off track. The old Hemi is new again. It is back. And we'll see how it goes. So anyways, guys, as always, thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.